everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The world of the young and the restless is about to shift in ways no one quite sees coming as a revelation unfolds that will ripple through the Winters family with both hope and unease. At the center of it all stands Holden Novak, a man who has long lived in the shadows of suspicion, now preparing to reveal a side of himself that no one, not even Lily Winters, has ever truly witnessed before. Their connection, once hidden beneath layers of secrecy, emerges as something far deeper than either of them expected. A shared bloodline that instantly changes everything. What begins as a shocking truth soon evolves into something far more emotional and complex, as Lily is forced to re-evaluate everything she thought she knew about Holden. The weight of this discovery doesn't just alter their relationship, it sets the stage for a transformation that could redefine loyalty, trust, and family itself. And as the truth settles in, the question lingers in the air. Can a bond forged in secrecy ever truly find acceptance in the light? The echoes of Holden's past deception still linger heavily in the minds of those around him, casting a long shadow over any chance at redemption. When he first arrived, masquerading as Damien Kane, his actions left a bitter taste, particularly for Nate Hastings, who felt personally betrayed by the elaborate lie. Devon Winters, ever cautious and fiercely protective of his family, has never once allowed himself to believe in Holden's sincerity, especially given Holden's murky ties to Kane Ashby and his questionable history with Audra Charles. To them, Holden is not just a stranger, he is a calculated manipulator. Someone who moves through life with hidden motives and carefully crafted facades. So, when the truth of his connection to Lily comes to light, it doesn't bring immediate warmth or celebration. Instead, it stirs a quiet storm of doubt and resistance. Even Lily herself cannot ignore the unresolved tension between them, the memories of mistrust still flickering beneath the surface. And yet, beneath that tension, something begins to shift, as circumstances soon demand that everyone take a closer look at who Holden truly is. That shift begins with an act so profound, so selfless, that it becomes impossible to ignore. In a moment that changes everything, Holden steps forward as a potential bone marrow donor for Malcolm Winters, a man he has only just discovered is his biological father. It is not a decision driven by obligation or expectation, but by something deeper, an instinctive willingness to help, to give, to save a life without hesitation. As the reality of his choice sinks in, Lily watches closely, her guarded heart beginning to soften in ways she never anticipated. The idea that Holden would risk so much for a father he barely knows touches something deeply emotional within her, challenging every assumption she once held about him. In that moment, the man she thought she understood begins to unravel, revealing layers of compassion and courage she never thought possible. And as hope flickers for Malcolm's survival, a new narrative begins to take shape. One where Holden is no longer just the man who deceived them, but someone capable of extraordinary grace. As days pass and moments are shared, Lily finds herself drawn into a new understanding of Holden, one that feels both unfamiliar and undeniable. The more time they spend together, the more she begins to see glimpses of sincerity in his actions, warmth in his words, and a quiet longing for connection that mirrors her own. For Holden, who has spent his life without the anchor of a sibling bond, the discovery of Lily becomes something unexpectedly meaningful, a chance to belong, to be seen, to finally have a place within a family. Their connection grows naturally, not forced, but unfolding with a gentle authenticity that neither of them can ignore. Laughter replaces tension, shared conversations replace silence, and slowly the distance between them begins to close. Lily, once hesitant, starts to embrace him not just as a half brother in name, but as someone who truly deserves a place in her life. And in that growing bond, there is a sense of healing, an unspoken understanding that perhaps the past does not have to define the future. But while Lily's heart opens, others remain firmly guarded, unwilling to let go of their doubts so easily. Devon and Nate, though grateful for Holden's willingness to save Malcolm, refuse to let a single act erase a history filled with deception. To them, trust is not something given lightly, and certainly not to someone they still view as unpredictable and opportunistic. Their skepticism lingers like a storm cloud, casting tension over every interaction and every step Holden takes toward acceptance. Even as Lily advocates for him, standing firmly by his side, she is met with resistance that threatens to fracture the fragile unity of the family. The idea of Holden stepping further into their lives, especially within the family business, only deepens their unease, raising fears that his intentions may not be as pure as they seem. What Lily sees as redemption, they see as risk, and the divide between them becomes impossible to ignore. And in that divide, the true test of loyalty begins to unfold. Caught between her belief in Holden and the unwavering caution of those she loves, Lily finds herself fighting a battle she never expected. Her determination to see the good in her half-brother becomes a quiet but powerful force, one that pushes her to challenge the doubts surrounding him and to stand firm in her convictions. In doing so, she grows closer to Holden, their bond strengthened not just by blood but by shared resilience in the face of judgment. Yet, the path ahead is anything but easy, as every step toward acceptance is met with hesitation, every gesture of goodwill scrutinized under the weight of past mistakes. The tension builds slowly, like a story waiting for its turning point, as each character is forced to confront their own beliefs about trust, forgiveness, and what it truly means to be family. And as the truth of Holden and Lily's connection continues to ripple through their world, one thing becomes clear. This is only the beginning of a transformation that will leave no relationship untouched. In the end, the revelation doesn't just change Holden and Lily. It shakes the very foundation of everything the Winters family thought they understood. Bonds are tested, loyalties are questioned, and the line between past and present begins to blur in ways that demand emotional reckoning from everyone involved. As the story unfolds, the promise of redemption hangs delicately in the balance, waiting to see whether it will be embraced or rejected. And in that uncertainty, the drama deepens, pulling everyone into a narrative filled with tension, hope, and the possibility of something profoundly life-changing. As the emotional dust begins to settle, a new chapter quietly takes shape. One defined not by the shock of revelation, but by the slow, deliberate struggle for acceptance. In The Young and the Restless, moments like these never fade quickly. They linger, simmering beneath the surface as each character wrestles with their own truth. Holden Novak, now no longer just an outsider looking in, finds himself standing at the fragile edge of belonging, aware that every step forward could either build trust or shatter it entirely. There is a quiet determination in him now, a need to prove that his intentions are real, that the man he is becoming is not defined by the mistakes he once made. And yet, even as he tries to move forward, he can feel the weight of watchful eyes, of silent judgments that refuse to loosen their grip. It is a lonely place to stand, between redemption and rejection, but Holden refuses to step back into the shadows. Instead, he leans into the uncertainty, hoping that time and truth will eventually speak louder than his past. For Lily Winters, this journey becomes deeply personal, evolving into something far more than simply accepting a newly discovered half-brother. What began as cautious curiosity has transformed into a fierce, unwavering belief in Holden's capacity for change, and she refuses to let that belief be shaken so easily. She sees what others cannot, or perhaps what they refuse to see. A man who is trying, who is choosing to do the right thing even when it costs him everything. In quiet moments, away from the tension and skepticism, Lily allows herself to feel the warmth of this new connection, the unexpected comfort of knowing she is no longer alone in ways she hadn't even realized before. Their conversations grow deeper, more honest, layered with vulnerability that neither of them has often allowed themselves to show. And in those moments, something beautiful begins to form. A bond that feels less like obligation and more like destiny finally catching up with them. It is this growing closeness that gives Lily the strength to stand her ground, even when it means standing against her own family. But that resistance does not fade, it intensifies. Devon Winters and Nate Hastings remain firmly rooted in their distrust, their concerns sharpening as Holden's presence becomes more permanent. Gratitude for Malcolm's second chance at life lingers, but it is overshadowed by a deeper fear that Holden's actions may be part of a larger, unseen agenda. They question his motives, dissect his every move, and brace themselves for the possibility that his transformation is nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion. To them, the stakes are too high to gamble on hope, especially when the stability of their family and their business hangs in the balance. The idea that Lily might offer Holden a role within their inner circle only fuels their unease, turning quiet tension into open disagreement. Conversations grow sharper, patience wears thinner, and the cracks within the family begin to widen. And as those cracks deepen, it becomes clear that this is no longer just about Holden. It is about trust, power, and the fear of letting the wrong person in. Yet even in the face of that growing storm, Holden continues to show up in ways that are impossible to ignore. There is no grand speech, no dramatic declaration, just consistent, quiet actions that speak louder than any words ever could. He stands by Malcolm during recovery, offering support not out of obligation but out of genuine care, slowly building a connection that feels real despite the time they lost. He respects the boundaries placed before him even when they sting, choosing patience over pride in moments where his old self might have pushed back. And in doing so, he begins to reshape the narrative that once defined him, proving that change is not just possible, it is already happening. Lily sees it clearly, her faith in him growing stronger with each passing day. But even Devon and Nate cannot completely ignore what is unfolding before them. Doubt still lingers, but it is no longer as certain, no longer as unshakable as it once was. And so, the story moves forward, not with resolution, but with tension that feels alive, evolving with every choice and every consequence. The bond between Holden and Lily continues to deepen, forged not just through shared blood, but through the battles they fight side by side. At the same time, the resistance from Devon and Nate remains a powerful force, ensuring that acceptance will not come easily, if it comes at all. It is a delicate balance, one that could tip in either direction at any moment, depending on the choices still to be made. But within that uncertainty lies the heart of the story, a question that lingers, unspoken yet impossible to ignore. Can a man truly outrun his past? Or will it always find the way to catch up with him, no matter how far he's come? And as the drama continues to unfold, one truth becomes undeniable. This revelation has changed everything, and nothing within the Winters family will ever be quite the same again. The tension doesn't break, It evolves, stretching into something deeper, more complex, as if every moment is quietly building toward an inevitable turning point. In The Young and the Restless, redemption is never handed out freely. It is tested, challenged, and often pushed to its limits before it can truly take root. Holden Novak begins to understand this more clearly with each passing day, recognizing that the path he has chosen is not one of quick forgiveness but of endurance. Every interaction becomes a subtle trial, every conversation a chance to either rebuild or unravel what little progress he has made. And yet, there is a quiet resilience growing within him, a steady refusal to fall back into old patterns even when the weight of doubt presses heavily against him. He is no longer trying to convince others with words. He is letting his actions speak, letting time slowly reshape the image people once had of him. It is a risky, uncertain approach, but it is the only one that feels honest. For Lily Winters, the emotional stakes continue to rise, pulling her deeper into a conflict that feels as internal as it is external. Her loyalty to her family has always been unshakable, but now it is being tested in ways she never imagined, forcing her to stand in a space between love and belief. She sees the shift in Holden with a clarity that others seem unwilling to embrace, and that conviction becomes both her strength and her burden. There are moments when doubt tries to creep in, when the echoes of Holden's past whisper warnings she cannot entirely silence. But those moments are quickly overshadowed by the man she sees standing before her now. Their bond grows not just through shared time, but through shared vulnerability, through the quiet understanding that both of them are fighting for something bigger than themselves. In Holden, Lily finds not just a brother but a reflection of resilience, of someone trying to rewrite a narrative that once seemed fixed. And in Lily, Holden finds something he has never truly had before, someone who believes in him, even when it would be easier not to. Meanwhile, Devon Winters and Nate Hastings find themselves caught in a battle of their own, one that is less visible but no less intense. Their skepticism, once firm and unwavering, begins to shift in subtle, almost imperceptible ways, challenged not by grand gestures but by the consistency of Holden's actions. They watch him carefully, waiting for the cracks to appear, for the moment when the mask slips and the truth reveals itself. But that moment never comes. Instead, what they see is patience, restraint, and a quiet determination that feels at odds with the man they thought they knew. Still, trust is not something they are ready to offer, not without proof that goes beyond a single act or even a series of good intentions. For them, the risk is too great, the consequences too severe if they are wrong, and so they remain guarded, their acceptance hovering just out of reach, creating a tension that lingers in every shared space, every family gathering, every decision that involves Holden's growing presence. As the days turn into something more settled, yet no less fragile, the question of Holden's place within the family begins to take on new weight. Lily's desire to integrate him fully into their world, including the possibility of bringing him into the family business, becomes a focal point of both hope and conflict. To her, it is a natural step forward, a chance to solidify his belonging and give him the opportunity to prove himself in a meaningful way. But to Devon and Nate, it feels like a step too far, too fast, a decision that could open the door to consequences they are not prepared to face. The conversations surrounding this possibility grow more intense, layered with emotion, fear, and an undercurrent of unresolved tension that refuses to fade. It is no longer just about whether Holden deserves a place in the family. It is about what that place might cost them all. And as those stakes become clearer, the divide between belief and doubt becomes sharper than ever. Yet, even as uncertainty hangs in the air, there is a quiet sense that something is shifting beneath the surface, something that cannot be easily undone. Holden's journey is no longer just about redemption. It is about transformation, about proving not only to others but to himself that he is capable of becoming more than his past. Lily stands beside him, unwavering, her belief acting as both shield and anchor as they navigate the challenges ahead together. And Devon and Nate, though still resistant, can no longer deny that the story they thought they understood is changing in ways they did not anticipate. The future remains uncertain, filled with questions that have yet to be answered, but one thing is undeniable. The revelation of Holden and Lily's connection has set into motion a chain of events that will continue to reshape their lives in ways both profound and unpredictable. And as the story continues to unfold, the line between who Holden was and who he is becoming grows thinner, leaving everyone to wonder whether, in the end, redemption will finally win, or if the past will demand one final reckoning.